Hello, world. Enterrupt KC was officially launched in 2024 and has been widely accepted by the Kansas City community. In this fun episode, the Enterrupt KC team, JL, D.Rod, and Nick, take a look back at what we accomplished in 2024, but also a look forward to what the future might hold. To that end, we want to wish our guy Nick the very best of luck in his future endeavors. He's wrapping up his time here with Enterrupt KC. We love you, Nick. Thank you for all you've done. We also answer questions we receive from our social media subscribers and followers. Thank you to our family, our friends, our guests, and all our supporters. We got so much more coming your way. This is Enterrupt KC. Enjoy this episode.
Welcome back to Enterrupt KC. You know what it is, man. This is an exclusive, right? This is a little exclusive, man. We threw together for all our family, followers, all our friends out there. You know, we're just going to sit down and talk a little bit. First of all, JL, I want to, and I know you too, man. I want to let's wish everybody a happy New Year, man. Right? Because
Happy New Year.
Hey, 2025, man.
Sorry, I need a drink of water.
2025, yeah. I need a drink of something.
Yeah, man. And you know, we can't forget, I mean, you know, we got Nick sitting right here with us. Shout out, Nick. What's up, Nick?
Yo.
Officially on the pod.
I know. People can see who I am now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, D.Rod, man. Hit the new year, 2025, man.
2025, man.
It's really crazy, man. I mean, just, you know, we took a break here at the end of the year, right? I mean, I love the holidays. We love the holidays. It's, you know, time for family, you know, and you know, taking a break from everything else. And I'm glad we did, man, to be honest with you. Yeah. Because I'm going to be honest, man, I kind of miss this now.
Man, the seat, man.
I ain't going to lie, man.
Something about this seat,
I kind of was
man.
like, I kind of missed the podcast.
Well, you know, and the crazy thing is, too, man, I've seen so many people here in the last couple months, man, and they miss it, too.
Nick, do you miss it?
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely a period where I was like, man, we don't got anything scheduled for like a whole month.
Yeah. It was on break. Yeah, it was on break. And then even then, I mean, you know, we had a couple things lined up, but then the weather happened, man.
Or sickness,
sickness. There was stuff going around.
Yeah, we actually, little unknown fact, we actually had a guest scheduled after Marco Rubio. I'm sorry, did I just say that?
Marco Rubio?
Marco Rubio. Why did I say that name?
Because I'm sorry,
Marco. Marco Romero.
Yeah.
Shout out Marco.
Yeah.
El Tiburon. Got to go watch that episode if you haven't. But we actually had an episode scheduled. I won't say who because, you know, we were trying to get them rescheduled. But, man, you know, that individual ended up getting sick kind of to the point, right?
Right.
Yeah. The individual ended up getting sick and it's like, dang, you know. Yeah. So that was actually going to be our last episode of the year.
Right. So, I mean, all our followers out there, our family, man, I mean, just hang tight with us, man. Believe you me, man. We're just as ready as you guys are. Yeah. We got a list of people coming up, man. Great things coming, JL, right? Great things coming, man.
For sure, man, for sure. And, you know, that's what I'm excited about, man. I mean, you know, before we go too far into the future, you know, I think it's important for people to understand, you know, the last year of what we've accomplished. And really, man, just, you know, you know, as we proceeded and we got busy, and you know, at one point we were doing 1-2 episodes a week. It was like we were humping it, man. And I just was like, whoa, man. I mean, thinking about that over the break we just had, I was like, man, we were really busy. So here's what's interesting, D.Rod and Nick. How many episodes did we do from, let's say, let's just call it January to July?
January, July, let me see.
I think I might have a guesstimate.
Guess.
I'm going to say about...
I'm going to say 15.
15? D.Rod 15?
I'm going to say like 25, 28.
Okay. We did 26.
Oh, wow.
26 episodes. That's almost one every week, pretty much. Because there's 52 weeks in a year.
Yeah.
So if you double that number... That's 26, 52.
That's about right.
So then how many episodes did we do from August to December?
15.
I'm going to say like 8.
Right in the middle. We did 11. 11 episodes, man. I mean, that's crazy, man. I mean, you know, I was shocked, actually, when I pulled that up. Because I have to say, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel. Talk about it. I felt as busy in the second half of the year as the first half. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man.
I don't know. That's just kind of how I felt. You know, what do you guys think, man?
Well, I mean, it regardless of how the number amount, I mean, it's still a busy time, man.
Busy,
I mean, people. Some people know it as those that are guests seen it. Of the process that it takes, you know, and then when it comes into editing the shorts and then doing all that together, right, JL, man. You've stepped up tremendously and done some great things with that, man. Yeah. But you know, it's a process. It's a learning process, man, that we've done. Yeah. And what's really crazy is how many times, man, have you know. We've been asked, like, who does this for you? You know, right? And they're like, man.
Me and D.Rod are just kind of like,
it's professional. Like, it's professional people that are doing it, whatever. No. We figured this out, man.
Nah, and, you know, man, I'm glad you brought that up, D.Rod, because I know, like, I remember so many people have thought, like, you guys do this? Like, just you guys? And then the follow-up question would be, I don't know how many times we've been asked this. You guys got a job?
Yeah,
Do you do this full time?
Yeah.
And we're like, no. Like, that's why we're meeting you at 6:00 at night, not you know, noon or something, you know?
Everybody thought this was full-time gig, man.
Well, I do know there was a consistent time where it was like we had something Tuesday, and then we would have something Saturday.
Right.
And I know, my dad... I think it was good that we switched it up because you were playing catch up practically with the content. Yeah. And then I think you got busy with work at one point. Right. And I know I did because I was driving, you know, 4 hours away and then 4 hours right back. Yeah. And it'd be like, oh, man, we got to go 20 minutes the other opposite way, drive right back. Else, yeah. So I mean, it's been. I think it's been fun.
There was many times that we show up on set, right, or set up, and man, my stomach's growling, and I was like, man, I haven't eaten nothing. Like, where are we going after episode? Like, let's go eat somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think, man, that's also the uniqueness of Enterrupt KC, man. You know, that's one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit with you guys, man, because I know, you know, we'll get. You know, we got some questions from fans, from people who follow us on socials. We got about 7 or 8 questions that people wanted us to answer, and we'll get to that. Yeah. But let's talk about the mobile podcast, man. That is unique. You know, I mean, I honestly, I've not seen a mobile podcast, you know? And so I don't know, man, like as much as like we're talking about driving this way and doing that and I mean, the shit that we're carrying in and out of these places, people don't even know.
The flights of stairs,
we're going to talk about gear here.
The flights, man.
But, you know, shout out gear, man. But, you know, the thing is, man, is that's what makes us unique.
Yeah.
I mean, among many other things,
like
right?
we make it work.
Yeah. And it makes it convenient, man.
It does, man, and that's one thing I think we both agreed on in the beginning here, JL. You know, like, you know, the convenience for the guests, for us to go to them. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's our deal, man. People ask all the time, like, where you guys at? Where's your studio at? And I'm like, no. We'll come to you, you know, in your place of comfort, you know, your place of where you're used to, and we do all the thing. All we ask is 2 hours of your time, you know?
Yeah.
And we'll make it happen, man.
Right. So, man, I just want to say real quick before we go any further, just thinking about that, man. Thank you guys, man. Thank you guys. Salute to you guys, man.
You know what that is?
You know what that is, D.Rod and Nick. That is a salute, man.
That's a salute,
That's a
man.
salute. And we're going to have some other salutes here, man, here in a second. So one of the things, man, that... you know, just kind of preparing for the night or tonight, man. And just, you know, let's look back, man. Let's look back a little bit at early guests, right?
Yeah.
And man, I gotta be honest with you, D.Rod. There is times where, you know, editing content, putting stuff together, episodes, obviously, like you said earlier, man, just taking time to actually learn the editing, program and man, I feel bad sometimes looking at the back to the
man.
Look,
you
stuff,
ain't you telling, man. I go back and I've seen some of those too, man.
And I'm like, feel bad. I'm like,
I mean, but it all starts somewhere, man.
Yeah, and shout out, man. We gotta shout him out, right? Joe Arcee.
Yeah, Joe Arcee.
Gotta shout out Angie. By the way, we're here in this space, in Angie's space right now. Titan Environmental, shout out. Thank you for that. Gotta shout out Drew Ains.
Drew Ains, man.
Carlos Gomez.
Yeah.
I mean, David Lopez, those early guests, Crispin Rea. I'm thinking like the first 10 episodes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, man, I just like look back at those and I'm like, yeah, that was a great convo, but damn. We could have did something a little, and not just we as in conversation. I think the conversations were great. I'm looking at it more from an editing standpoint, like some of the shorts and some of the shit, man. That you just got to learn along the way,
right? But you know what they say, man. We're always our worst critic, man. Like we know, and then we see all that stuff. And there's been so many times that people tell me, man, this looks good, that looks good, and I'm thinking, man, I don't know about that because I know it look kind of. Shitty to me, or I said something wrong or whatever. I'm like, oh man, thank you. But I ain't gonna tell. Well, I'm telling y'all now. There've been plenty of times I was like, oh man, no, thank you. But I think I screwed up on some of them things,
Yeah. I mean, what do you think, Nick, man, when you look back to those early episodes, man?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was all a learning curve for all of us. Like, I never worked with audio necessarily until this, but I think one of the greatest things about Enterrupt KC is like how quickly we adapted to event spaces or to even running out of power, like when we did I forget her name, Anita. Yeah, and the power went out.
Yeah.
So I mean,
there's always some little hiccups.
And I agree with Uncle Daniel, because there's times where I'll spitball something to JL afterwards, and he's like, oh no, like don't even worry about it, or like vice versa, and I'm like, that it's fine. Like we can't go back and change it. Like it's completely fine. Or even, you D.Rod, when we see each other, you're like, man, I think I did this wrong. Like, what do you think? I'm like, no, that is completely fine. Yeah. So I think that's just something that everyone deals with when it's their own, vision and platform.
And that's the point though, right? I mean, and D.Rod said it best along the way, man. I mean, there's plenty of times where I was like, I mean, people probably couldn't tell, I don't know, but I was stressing out in the middle of the episode, like, oh my God, I'm going to have to figure out how to edit this shit together. And
some of those are a little
wild. Make it look
man.
like and sound like this didn't even occur, and things like that.
And a little, fun fact behind the scenes, man, like talking about these early episodes, man. I remember I think we had 3. The first 3 was under our belt, and we didn't drop them yet. Right. Yeah. And I think that was the thing, because it was our conversation we're having. You're like, man, I don't know. I want to do this. I want to, that was what, exactly the point what we're talking about. I want to do this, do that, change this, change that. Yeah. And I was like, hey, man, just fucking his sand, man. His sand. Let's just drop it, man. Let's just drop it and let it go. Yeah. So, I mean, that's big ups, man, because that's what started. That's the snowball going down the hill deal. It's like, all right, little one, and then we're getting a little bit bigger and growing and growing and growing, and then look what we became, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was going to say, for me, one, a lot of people don't know what I look like until now. And I'm not my dad's dad. Shout out Brian B. Shiner, but I'm not my dad's dad. I'm the son.
Brian B. Shiner.
I'm the oldest son. But I've not, anytime I go to like the Hispanic Chamber events or see people who have listened or ask, are you J.O.? And I'm like, no, I'm Nick. But I've never heard one complaint. Like, they all get props on like the conversations, the structure of it. And most of all, like the transport. Because the people we interview are not regular human beings. Like, they work 12 to 12, and they're just so busy. So
as one of our guests, the great Angela Kennedy said, man, what she say? Epic shit.
Epic people do epic shit, or something like that.
It's more than one person does epic shit. I wrote it down somewhere.
Oh man.
I think she said epic people do epic shit or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, shout out Angela, man.
Yeah, shout out.
That was
Angela.
actually a fun episode, man.
Yeah,
because I remember
not that fun. The AC was out.
That's true.
That was hot.
That is true. I do remember that, and that was in like May or June or something.
The hottest month of summer.
It was hot. We drove. She let us set up in her. There's a space there in her apartment complex.
Yeah, party room.
And you know, man, what's crazy is how many times I have seen Angela since then.
Yeah.
So we saw her, right? We saw her at the pop up down that we had down
the Mural Fest.
The Mural Fest. Shout out Scribe. And then I was like at the Peanut. I saw her there. Then I saw her somewhere else. You know,
yeah.
and it's like Angela. You know, it was pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
But that's an example of what people don't know. How we adapt. Not saying it wasn't a great conversation.
Yeah.
But I know all four of us were sitting there. We were like, "Oh my god, man, it's so hot."
It's hot.
Right.
You're right. Nah, so wanted to acknowledge that those first 10 episodes, man. To me, for us, I would say, man, that was a huge learning curve. You know what I mean? Huge learning curve. And, you brought up the fact that we were sitting on those 3 episodes, D.Rod. We actually recorded Angie Rodriguez Gunyon in November, I think, or right after Thanksgiving. Joe Arce was right before Christmas. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then we did Drew right after the first of the year.
Yeah, the first week.
I remember that too.
Yeah. Well, it's in his episode too. He's like, "Hey, Happy New Year."
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to him, man.
And so what I remember though, like November to like middle of January, man, YouTube is my friend because I did not know how to do half of the shit I know how to do now. Yeah. And I'm like, oh man, how many hours I spent on YouTube watching. So shout out all the YouTube people, man, who put these videos together, man. Dropping content, showing idiots like me how to put together a short. Man. Like, dude, I didn't even like for real. Like, people don't even understand, D.Rod. We all have been on social media.
Yeah,
but I've never been a content. Have you?
No, man. No. And I've said this. I think I said this earlier this week. And even touch on that, right? Like, I never really fucked with Facebook too much. Like, I did a little bit here and there, but now I'm on everything, and I'm trying to drop everything. So my gotta do that, man.
And what's funny about that is I remember you both. One of the initial conversations, I was like, okay, I got a Facebook account, I got an Instagram account first, I got an email, I got a YouTube page, channel, and you guys were like, what about TikTok? And I was like, TikTok?
Yeah.
Like, why do we need that? And then you guys are, you got to get a TikTok. And I was like, oh, man, I don't want to do TikTok. I heard it's like addictive or something. And we got a TikTok, shortly after that.
Well, we got a great TikTok. Those people that follow us, man, who are on TikTok, man, shout out you because, you guys, there's a lot of interactions there. You guys like it, you guys follow. There's a lot of shares, man, a lot of reposts, right, is what it is.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, hopefully after Sunday it's still here.
Right.
Oh, my God.
But talk about learning curve audio for me was, I don't want to say annoying, but... that was a huge learning curve because there's episodes where people's voices sound very distorted. Yeah. And I had no idea why. My dad would ask me, I'm like, I have no idea. Yeah. And I think what I did was I hit up my buddy Anthony Monson, who's always like been a huge like music maker and all that stuff all through high school. He actually now works for Strange Music.
Yeah, I was gonna say, doesn't he follow Tech?
Yeah, he just toured with Tech, vlogged with him, and took pictures and everything. So shout out him. And I think I messaged him and I was like, "Hey, why does it still sound distorted? Like, what am I doing wrong?" Yeah. And he's speaking alien lingo to me, and I'm like, I have no idea what any of that is. Yeah. And he just sent me a picture, circled it, and he said, "Is this up too high?" And it was the analog, and I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yeah, no, it needs to be down." And I was like, oh, okay. And then after that, it was like a huge game changer. Yeah. me and JL were like, oh, it sounds so clear.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But I mean, it was a huge learning curve, man. But here's the thing. Here's the point. We have evolved, right? We evolved after those first 10, 15 episodes. We got to episode 26. And I would say, D.Rod, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, man, or you, Nick, but, man, I feel like we really hit our stride around episode like 15, 16. You know, that's where Juan Moya came in, Gear, you know, shout out Dulcinea Herrera, you know. We started talking to those individuals, you know, and I felt like we were just that much more prepared.
Yeah, we were flowing.
Yeah.
Like we would just show up and just 5 minutes have everything
Put it all together. The setup went quick. We learned what we're doing on the setup. You know, the conversations were flowing good, man. Yeah, man. No, for sure, man. What you say?
I mean, that's what I think, man. I feel like you know, the conversations were just more, you know, in my mind, we learned a lot early on with. Okay, do we write down all these questions? I mean, is this an interview? No, we don't want it to be an interview. We want it to be a conversation, a fun one, you know. And that's also something that we want to make clear, right? Yeah. Like people have said to us, "Well, man, I don't know, you know, I don't know if I want to do an interview." Yeah. Well, it's not an interview. Yeah. You know, this is a conversation. You know what I mean?
It's conversation, and you know, unfortunately, man, and you know, another behind the scenes hidden fun fact or not so fun fact is that you know we've also had people kind of back out.
Oh,
you know?
Man, yeah.
And which would, man, I like anticipated talking to these people, man.
Yeah,
you know, and we had a few cancels, man, and we're trying to get y'all back, man. Come on back over here, and I don't know what it is, you know, and I think some people probably get cold feet. Or
the worst ones was the ones where we actually drove to them day of,
right?
And then
walk
they're
around
like,
for 30 minutes.
Where y'all at?
Well, and then,
man, something came up, and you could just tell, like they didn't want to do it. You know?
Well, and then you know to even put a little bit on that too. What's crazy to me is that we end up talking to some great people that were telling us after we're done. Man, I was so nervous. Man, I was so nervous.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up.
Right? And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Come on, bro. Like, I'm the one. You're a great person doing big things known throughout the city, and it's just a couple guys here talking to you, you know, and you're the one nervous? Come on, man. You know, but I mean, I think that what it is that some people feel like maybe they don't want to give out too much of their personal, which we don't try and do that. You know, we're not trying to, you know, we say it all the time, man, to everybody. Man, we're not doing nothing. We're not going to get personal about any of your relationships or none of that. We just want to talk about you. And what you're doing here in our city, our great city, man. You know?
It was like that with Scribe. You know, when you guys went on vacation and I was getting video of Scribe. Yeah. He was very nervous. Yeah. You know,
rightly so, man.
Yeah. And first time meeting with me, he was asking a load of questions like, what type of questions are you going to ask? What is it about? You know, can I talk about this? Can I talk about that? And I finally was like, look, it is simply about you. We'll talk about whatever you want. As long as you let us know what you don't want to talk about.
Shout out Scribe.
And when he was like, I made this, that drink he brought on the episode. He was like, well, I don't want to bring that if you guys aren't okay with it. I was like, dude, have you seen our past episodes? You know? And Scribe, I mean, I think that broke his nervousness. Because once I was 100%. Like, this is what it is, he was like, oh, so it's just a conversation. I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, the reason why it looks like an interview is because either both sides don't know what to talk about next, or it's just a casual flow of just how the conversation goes. It's just bang, bang, bang. Because people like, you know, I forgot who he had, but they just fly through questions like that. You know, they're just quick with it.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Well, and I think, you know, too, you know, just to keep on that point where, you know, what D.Rod was saying, you know, like the whole message that Enterrupt KC we've been really consistent about is that we are about community. You know, we're not controversy. Like, you know, let's be honest, man. People say things on here, and it's not about whether or not we agree with it or agree with it or whatever. That's how they feel. That's their thoughts. That's how that's their opinions. we just want to get to know them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we're not here to be like, well, you know, that's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, let's argue, let's debate that. While that might be attractive to probably a large population of people, that's not us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it truly is about them.
Yeah. It's like Manny Abarca, you know, I'm sure a handful of people don't like him, but at the same time, it's like, get to know him, and if he says something, it's like, okay, well, then why do you believe that?
And shout out Manny, man. You know, he's our dude, man. You know, he agreed to come on. Same with Crispin. You know, and we're gonna have more elected officials on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know, they're not the only ones, right? I mean, there's other people, business owners. You know, other just regular people, and you know, for us, it is about you being your authentic, your organic, genuine self. You know, who are you? Who do you want people to know? What do you want people to know about you? You know what I'm saying?
Man, there was this one part that man, I've told people this even after, you know, we're talking about, Nick, about how people just kind of open up and they get comfortable, right? So I don't know if you guys remember this, but Helen Ortiz Turley, right?
Yeah.
Which is episode 24.
Shout out Helen, yeah.
Shout out Helen, episode 24. Go check it out, people. There was a part in that episode, man, where she says, and we're talking to her, and her words, Helen, man, love you. Great conversation. She says, I think that this place, this podcast, I could say this on this podcast. I've never been able to say this before.
Yeah.
And she talks about the story of when she got into business.
Yeah.
And when the guys were saying that, you know, you got to have some balls to do this.
Yeah.
And Helen grabs her boobs and she shakes them up, right?
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
But that was, I mean, you know, to your point, like people loosen up and they say things. And she knew at that time that she never said that. Never share that story with nobody.
Yeah, you're right.
She was like, I feel like I could tell this story on here.
Yeah.
Well, that's with the vibe that we're giving
that's
to our
Enterrupt
guests.
KC,
Man.
yeah.
You know, like, hey, come on, let's talk, let's do it on out there. And after the fact with that, you know, is what we're saying, that people get so comfortable after the fact. Before, they're nervous as hell, sweating. Hell, there was a couple times I was. Right? There's a couple times I was nervous talking to somebody, you know, like, shit, what the hell am I going to say? You know, whatever, and just let it go.
Yeah.
You know, but,
I remember that, man. I remember that with Helen. But I also remember, like you said earlier, I remember a lot of people being nervous, and I ain't gonna call nobody out. We know who they are, man. Yeah. They know who they are if they're listening. They were nervous as hell, and they were telling us, "Man, I'm nervous, man."
There's a couple of shots taken before we started, right?
Yeah, or like, even reading the little "I'm interrupting KC." Yeah, it's like, man, we're on our 7th take. Like, let's lock in here.
Yeah, exactly. Man. No, but you know, so here's what I wanted to do, man. Because, you know, we've got 36 episodes behind us, man. I just wanted to share some information with you all, with the world, you know, who watches. And we're going to talk about the world because it literally is, D.Rod. We've said this on episodes, man. We got people from different parts of the United States that lock in. We got it. And you can see this. Oh, this is all
London.
Yeah. YouTube gives you these analytics. You know, the platform we use for Spotify, Apple Podcasts, they all give you these. But anyway, 36 episodes, man.
Yeah.
That is, we did a month break in July, right?
Right.
So just keep that in mind. And then we pretty much did a month break in December. Yeah. To be honest.
You know? End of November.
I mean, because we did Marco's episode like real early December, I think, or late November.
I thought it was before Thanksgiving.
Maybe
I got it written down.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I'm saying we didn't do anything in December.
Yeah.
Right.
So just keep in mind, it's 2 months we didn't do nothing. So 36 episodes, man. All right. So Enterrupt KC, man. And keep in mind, all of our conversations are about Kansas City. They're about the people who are here in Kansas City. So this is information about Kansas City being spread to the world online. You know what I mean? So let's just start with content views. So what does that mean? So that's YouTube, that's YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, you know, your social media platforms, right? Well over 800,000 content views. Well over 800,000. That is not everything. That's a lot of I would say actually a lot of 3/4 of the last year. The early stuff, it was hard to add up, and there's different reasons for that.
Right.
But over 800,000 content views, over 40,000 reactions, well over 4,000, pretty much 5,000 shares, approaching, if not really, it's well over 5,000 watch hours. So what does that mean? A watch hour. That is literally 60 minutes of time people watching our content.
Mm-hmm. The full hour.
Yeah. 60 minutes. So there's over 5,000 hours of people watching our content. The reason why that I started tracking that number is because, and I said this to you guys before, right? Like midway into the year, people get hung up on views. They say, oh man, you guys don't get a lot of views and you don't have a lot of subscribers and, all that, bullshit. Yeah, but here's the thing. People are actually watching what we're putting together.
Yeah.
Like, that's different than somebody having, let's just say, 1,000 views on an episode, and they only have 30 hours of watch time. That means people aren't really liking the conversation, right?
Right.
That's a important statistic in my mind, because we've only put out 36 episodes. So, to me, that's a huge accomplishment, man.
Yeah, man.
You know what that is, D.Rod and Nick? Man,
I think I know what that is, man.
That is
that's
a salute, man.
Hey, salute to you guys out there, man. Followers, for real.
Salute to the followers, salute to the subscribers, salute to the friends, the family, everybody who clicks on the content. And speaking of that, I just shared with you earlier, we have on YouTube 430 YouTube subscribers. Okay? Now, here's the thing. And I ain't gonna, but no, it's not about us versus them. It's not. We're Enterrupt KC. We care about us. But when you look at, like, I'll just say other media that highlights other podcasts, and you look at those podcasts that are about Kansas City.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, no.
We're right there.
Yeah.
We're right there, if not surpassing many of them. So, we got to give a shout out, man. Shout out to everybody who subscribes, who follows, who shares. You know what I'm saying, D.Rod?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's important, man, because I know how people think in the social media world. Like, oh, I'll wait till they get 1,000 subscribers or 10,000. Then I'll hit that subscribe button. But it's like, man, dude, this is us new. Like, we started from nothing. Like we just said earlier, we didn't even know how to create nothing. I think it's awesome, man. I think it's a great accomplishment.
Yeah, I think so too, man. And that's the key right there. There's been so many times, man, that like I see somebody and they'll be like, man, I'm gonna put you on. I need to catch up. I need to catch up, right? I hear it all the time, man. Which
all the time.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Please catch up. It's not going nowhere. It's still on there, man. Catch up whenever you can, whenever you got time, man.
Yeah. And I know we've said that, right? We said that to guests because, like, I remember more recently, Dink. We said it to Chato. I remember we said it to. We joked around with Marco, right? Like, man, you grow up and you have kids and a family. You're gonna see your younger self talking, and you're gonna be like, you see those old guys? They're really old now,
Yeah.
Because I'm old, I remember saying that to people, like, it's online, man. You can watch this whenever, man.
And I said this. I remember, man. Shout out Juan Moya, man. Shout out my boy Moya, man. When we had him, and I'm going to share something with the audience here, and I hope you don't mind, Juan, but when we talked, prior to the episode, it was something more along the line like, hey, bro, you got young kids, and I think his words were, this is something that they're going to see of me forever.
It's a digital footprint.
Yeah, it's a digital footprint, man. And that's why he was like, yeah, I'll do it. He was a little nervous, about doing it a couple times. And I'm very fortunate that he went ahead and pulled the trigger and sat down with us.
Yeah.
Great episode. But that's one thing that I try to instill in some of our guests as well, and one of them told me, well, it is for you too, which I didn't think about that, but it is, right? Because I'm thinking about the guests. I'm like, hey, man, this, we're just talking, all our guests are doing great things in this great city, and I say that, man, the world needs to know that. Yeah. And it's going to be there forever, and people need to see that, your family and friends and everybody else.
Yeah. I'll say for me, it's good to see not only the outside support, because, we go to, especially when Adrian was in CYO basketball, families through me, Asian St. Agnes, would talk to me about it and just show their excitement about it. Yeah. And obviously refer us to like more guests. And it's so funny to kind of give my example of like, tell me you're from KC without telling me you're from KC.
Yeah.
What, I'll say kind of is like shocking to me is we have so many people that have great followings, right?
Right.
And I'm not going to say they're deliberately eating off of our plate, but we're in a city where people will laugh you through a house party, but get mad when you're not invited to the villa, Yeah. And I wish there was more people that if we collab with them, they support that.
Yeah.
And not throwing anyone out there, but for me as behind the scenes person, it's kind of like, well, that's disappointing. Yeah. Where we don't see someone we were excited for not collab and share anything about us with them.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't help it. That's how people are. But I think for me, sometimes it's like, damn.
Because you see all the work we do.
Yeah.
Like
it's like, damn, we drove out to you and... we waited this long for you, and at least show some support back. But
and that's all good. I mean, that's all good, man. It people get caught up in their life too, man. So I mean, just being able to sit with us is a great thing. What I like too, and it'll be out there.
No, yeah, for sure, man. But I feel what Nick is saying. You know what I mean? Because it's, I've spent hours, man. Hours putting this stuff together. We've talked about that. And, a click of a button to collaborate on a post goes a long way for people who spend hours. I mean, we're talking to people who've built businesses, who built whatever you built. And, you want people to respect that by paying you right, by respecting, your whatever you got going on. Yeah. And, your time. Just respect ours. Yeah. Hit that accept button, because that goes a long way for people who just starting something. You know what I'm saying?
It shows a little bit of appreciation, right? I mean, when I see that, the more people that kind of, and honestly, people that I've talked to, man, I'll be like, hey, here, pull it up. Hit subscribe. And they're doing it in front of me now. Maybe they unsubscribe when I walk away or something, but I don't give a shit, man. I'm going to be like, hey, man, when they ask me about
maybe
it.
Maybe they don't, though.
Yeah, maybe they don't,
Maybe
man.
they don't.
Maybe they don't, and they're still on there,
But no, good point, man. We all put a lot of hard work on this, but let me get back to real quick the content stuff. So what I was saying, sorry I didn't get to this because you were starting talking about something else. So all those views, shares, likes, reactions, play times, all that stuff, man.
Yeah.
D.Rod, we're going to get to a point where sponsorships, there's a new platform in town.
Yeah.
We've been here.
Yep.
What do you think? I see these, let's just call them podcasts, and they got these little sponsorships, and I'm like, we ain't tried that yet. We just been waiting. Our focus has been, build the podcast, and we building the podcast, man.
Might have to get it tattooed on us too.
We building the podcast. Yeah, what's up? I ain't got a tattoo. I got a big body, So you could be my first tattoo. We do it right.
Be the canvas.
But no, man, we're gonna start having these conversations. That's why
they've been trying to be had.
Oh yeah, we have had people actually. Let's be honest. We have had people shout out and they'd like, "Hey, man, I'd love to sponsor you guys." And for us early on, it was just like, let's build the podcast.
Yeah.
Let's build the podcast. We know what we got going on. People like it. Keep doing it, right? So
correct.
Anyway, just wanted to put that out there for everybody. Your logo here.
Let's talk.
Let's talk. Give us a shout. But so real quick transition. I wanted to get to Nick, man, because we're doing this episode and it's just kind of a recap, right? Mm-hmm. And D.Rod, we know how important Nick has been to our success here with Enterrupt KC, man,
Yeah.
And I feel bad, man, sometimes because I know early on we were just like me and you talking and carrying on this and that. But then we kind of got to a point where we're like, and I think you did, you're like, man, I need to start shouting out Nick, man, because Nick is like right here and nobody knows he's sitting here. So then you would start opening up with, we got Nick over here, with this type of thing. You remember?
Yeah,
so, man, I just want to say, Nick, man, thank you for everything you did, man, and do for us, man. We love you. We appreciate you. But we should let people know that Nick is wrapping up his time with Enterrupt KC, man.
He's moving on to better things, and we're happy for you. But talk about that, Nick. Like, talk about what you're going to be getting into, man. Drop it, man. Drop it.
So, for those that don't know, a little before my dad, kind of brought this podcast up to me and Uncle Daniel, I worked in sports and left that area and thought of an idea of a social networking platform, because there's a very, I guess, known niche, especially in Kansas City, where you go to college for a degree in sports, but your advisors or anyone at school doesn't know the right connections or have the right connections.
Right.
Or the entire department doesn't, but, one teacher does, type of deal. And, I mean, my dad probably remembers, I was working the Monarchs part-time and City of Fairway part-time, and I was just like telling them about this idea I had and what I see in it, and right away my dad's like, you need to hit up Joe Nordling, AI software developer, Alongo. You need to talk to these guys because it's a digital platform. And to kind of get where I got the inspiration from that, my dad had an idea similar in his area of work, but I was like, oh, that makes sense, especially for sports. So,
another idea.
Yeah. So I kind of, thought of that, and it just went from an idea to where I brought a friend of mine and business partner, Brady Walker, on board, because he, we both interned at the Monarchs, and I'm trying to sum it down, sorry, but he had a master's degree, fully capable of getting a job, and all of our opinions like that.
Right.
But he couldn't get an email back or a phone call back and never knew why. So then when I approached him, I was like, hey, I would love to bring you on board because you bring the perspective of like, I'm well qualified, but I'm not getting anything back. So brought him on board and we just kind of met. I mean, my dad probably remembers I was on the phone with him probably every other day, and we were just writing down what it could be, what it is, the colleges we're trying to hit, and it just went from an idea to then we pitched it to the digital sandbox. Didn't get it, but it was a good experience. I don't want to say it was very intimidating because my dad knows I've been very good with like public speaking. And it's not so much like they were like, your idea is shit. It was just, we don't understand it. We don't get it, and which is understandable because they're all in their own categories of industry. And
what was the name though of the business?
So I created the name Next Sports. I own it. It's all mine. NEX, no hyphen, sports. And where I got it from was when I was brainstorming, I was like, okay, I know I want sports in there. I don't want net sports because that just sounds like a website. So I looked up synonyms for networking, and Nexus came up. And I was like, Next Sports. And for some reason, it just sounded clean. Like, it just made sense. Yeah. And I believe I told my dad about it, and he was like, oh, that sounds like a great name. My Aunt Angie, she's been a great mentor. So has my Uncle Kyle. And working for them, business side of things, they've helped me develop a lot more.
Yeah, man.
So you're gonna basically leave us, right? And you're gonna go do Next Sports full time.
Yeah. And last year we had our first launch event, and I remember that because we had Jonathan Patil, I think that same day. Patil, the same day. And it was really a success, even though it was just St. Mary. We had other professors from like William Jewell there.
Yeah.
And they got to see my physical goal of what it is.
Right.
And the biggest part, which Alongo will say is the hardest part, is getting your, what did he say, clients on the sports side.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I think I was more impressed on how many I got for my first event compared to just how many students went.
Yeah. How many was it?
9. And it wasn't just those in Kansas City. I got an individual from the Seattle Sounders, my good friend Blake. I got a New York Yankee scout. I got a media guy from the Myrtle Beach Pelicans.
Okay.
And what's amazing is that even though I'm like more focused demographically in Kansas City, they all have said, man, we struggle with that here in our own cities.
Yeah.
And even my mentors are like, man, if you get this rolling, and it's not even so much you're in competition with like LinkedIn, but just the fact you're focused on sports,
right,
trying to help the under-resourced colleges and students, you can change how we network for a long, long time.
Yeah, man.
And so we had our first event, and it was great. St. Mary, my alma mater, has been great support. The coaches, all of them have all, if you need me for a workshop, let me know. And I think just me transferring here, Titan Environmental full time, and doing the podcast, I kind of got inconsistent with it a little bit. Okay. And that's not an excuse, right? Like, we all need to focus. Right. Like, life just gets in the way. Yeah, and, I told my dad, I was like, I just need to get consistent with it. Not that there's weight on my shoulders, but I have people texting me, asking me like, hey, what's next? Like, what do you got? What's
next? Next Sports?
Yeah, exactly. But the biggest part and the exciting part, because I'll share some things I have planned with it, is...
You'll share it on this podcast?
Yeah, I'll share it.
Hell yeah.
I got to thank my dad for the good, confident speaking genes that's got me this far. My business partnered with another business, Third City, and he runs a recreational sports league throughout KCK. His name's Renee. And we kind of met with the chamber, and we're like, hey, we have this idea for community local engagement when the FIFA Cup comes here.
The World Cup?
Yeah. And, it was a good meeting. Not so much like your idea is bad, but they kind of were like, well, if you had something your way, like, we'd be on board. Yeah. And we're like, oh, that's fine. And what I can say now confidently is that we actually have meetings coming up with like Hy-Vee Arena, and they're interested in kind of collabing with us on hosting stuff there for next year.
Nice.
And when I met with them briefly over the phone, they were just like, oh man, this is a great idea. We love it, whatever. But what's interesting is not a lot of people know what they're doing. Right. Like, we meet with people and they're just like, we have no idea. Johnson County has no idea. Wyandotte County has no idea. There's a language barrier struggle. There's transportation struggle. So we're all
You're talking about World Cup coming here.
Yeah. So for us trying to plan it, and the reason I share that is because maybe there's others planning it and they don't know what they're really getting into. But if you're not doing something now, we're learning, you're going to be behind by like 4 months from now.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's what we're planning. And that's, cool. If we get spaces and venues, then next is just the people.
Yeah.
And I also have other workshops, I want to do, like a coaching scouting workshop. And I have people, coaches on board, scouts on board that want to do that. Yeah. And, overall, I really want to see how far I could take this thing.
Yeah. So is that to cover all sports?
All sports. Okay. And there's organizations I won't name that really want a platform like this.
Yeah.
Because as much as helpful,
I'm sure they need it, man.
Yeah. Like as helpful as like LinkedIn and Teamwork Online can be, a lot of them are like, there's nothing that helps focus on hiring local students or part-time intern,
or
having
full-time.
That bridge built already.
Yeah. And there's a lot of advisors and a lot of people that I know they're in charge of departments where they're like, I don't know who the advisor at Baker University is. I don't know who Professor Zimmerman at St. Mary is. So our platform is really trying to help focus that to where not just a marketing department out of college has someone in Sporting KC, but to where all of the advisors have that highly accessible, opportunity to network with people.
So did you say that other major cities don't have nothing like that going on, man?
No, because they use the same stuff that we're taught to use, LinkedIn and Teamwork Online.
Right.
And when I researched stuff to see if there's something like this out there, to an extent there is. Right, but a lot of them are focused. Like there's Sports Management Worldwide, where they're focused on scouting and football.
Right,
and then there's NFLPA has like their own college graduate platform, but there's just nothing that covers all.
It doesn't have a big mixing pot of everybody.
No.
Yeah,
man, Nick, I just want to say, man, proud of you, man. You said dad a lot of times in that whole, 10 minutes. People, it's my son, Nick, man. And, as a father, man, I'm just proud of you, man.
Yeah,
man. I've always told you, man, chase your dreams, But on behalf of Enterrupt KC, man, I know D.Rod shares this, man. Thank you. Thank you, man, for getting us going. For that's why
overseeing, man.
Yeah, that's why the laptop is here in front of me, everybody, because you might get accustomed to this view because it's gonna be somewhere right here with me, moving forward. But you are gonna help out here first, a couple of episodes, so we can kind of get accustomed to, us running the board and everything like that. But yeah, man, thank you, Nick. We wish you the best, man, for real.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been fun, and I'm glad I got to do something, a little more with you, Uncle Daniel, because I know there's a huge age gap.
We drank a lot.
But especially with my dad, man. Like, he was always busy with me as a kid, and not that we never hung around, but we never.
Well, now
did.
You're older, and like we said, life, man.
Yeah, I'm just glad I got to do something. Man. With my dad, for a while.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. So, everybody, wish Nick, the best in the comments.
Even also, man, follow up that Next Sports.
Follow Next Sports, man. You can see it on our socials, because we follow it on our page. NEX Sports, SPORTS.
Okay, so let's plug it, man. What do you want? Everything?
I believe our Instagram is NEX Sports, no spaces or hyphens or anything like that.
What others you got?
Let me double check, because we've had to add KC to some things.
And especially if you yourself, or if you have kids or relatives that want to get in the sports industry, Nick is a great resource, man. So just tell them, holler at Nick, man. He's
shoot him a message, shoot him
DM him, whatever.
Yeah, our Instagram is Next Sports KC. Our website is obviously www.nextsportskc.com.
Yeah.
And we also have a Facebook page
and
as well.
And that's NEXSPORTS.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
KC. Yep.
All right, man.
Well, that's
there
cool,
it is, man.
Cool.
Congratulations,
man.
man.
Can't wait to see what it looks like,
Thanks,
man. Seriously, the World Cup and everything coming. So, real quick, man, because, what I want to do, D.Rod, is we actually had fans, followers submit questions for us to answer.
Oh, yeah?
And Nick's going to read those off here in a minute. But I have some questions for you guys. And maybe this is just fun for the crowd here watching this. So what is on Facebook? What is the most viewed video on Facebook that we've put out? Who was it? What was it? Most viewed, most interacted with, most viewed?
You go, Nick.
Well, I want to exclude. Are we excluding the tribute to Lisa?
Yeah, none of that doesn't count. I didn't count that in any of this.
I would say Juan Moya.
Okay.
So
this is Facebook, by the way. Okay.
Oh, Facebook?
Yeah.
Oh.
You're talking about Reels.
Yeah, Reels.
Reels? Oh, hell, I don't know.
I want to say maybe the Jay Rieger giveaway ones.
Yeah. What do you think?
What do I think? Hold on, let me look.
Oh, you gonna look? It's gonna take you a minute to find it.
Yeah.
All right. It's Manuel Palacio, the third.
Oh, okay.
Lil Man.
Lil Man.
Shout out Lil Man.
Shout out Manuel, man. That the clip, one of the reels that we put together for him talking. Man. Well,
thousands, man.
Well, right? 6,000. It's thousands of views. So, shout out, Lil Man. Shout out, man. Appreciate you, man, for joining us, telling that story, man. I am Dom.
Thank you
man.
for the hat.
Yeah, thank you for the hat. Thank you for your time, man. That story, by the way, for people who have not watched that episode, incredible.
Yeah,
Manuel, his wife, his family, his son Dom. Incredible family, man. Go watch that episode about his family, his son passing away, at a young age to cancer. Incredible story, man.
Yeah, he created the I Am Dom Foundation too. You can also find him on all the socials, and they have a website.
Yep.
He does a lot of things for children that are ill in the hospital. He gives, man. He just gives and gives and gives, man.
And actually, man, I saw this on Facebook. People want to know what kind of person Manuel is, what kind of person we talk to. Like, people ask me, how can I get on this podcast? Manuel, when we just had this blizzard, he put his snowblower on the back of his truck and made a post like, who needs help?
Yeah.
And then people started posting videos of him cleaning their driveway with his snowblower. He drove to their house and cleaned that 10 inches of snow with his snowblower.
Yeah.
That's Manuel Palacio.
That's Manuel Palacio.
Shout out, Manuel.
Shout out, Lil Man.
All right, Instagram.
Okay.
Most popular reel on Instagram.
Ooh. Let me go.
Go ahead, D.Rod.
I think I want to say the Kobe, the gear one.
The gear.
Yeah, the gear. When I asked Gear if who was an up and comer, I think that one got a lot of kicks, and then all the way up or something, because he said Kobe is up, and I think that I'm just guessing. I'm thinking that because I remember seeing that,
man,
and I to even share some info with our guest again. I think that went worldwide because that's when UK people will start following us, and we got a lot of followers.
You got some from Germany?
From Germany, man. Yeah. I mean, so what you got?
That's I can't beat that. That's gotta be it.
It's Kobe.
Is it?
Kobe
ding,
is
ding,
up
ding.
short.
You know what that is?
You know what that is, D-Rod.
That's a salute,
That's
Nick.
a salute, Nick.
That better have been worth it. Mom says you try to kill him, try to get the videos.
Yeah. So I wanted to, that's what, it's kind of funny, right? Because D-Rod asked the perfect question. Hey, who's like some up and come? I mean, you got to watch this short. It's on Instagram.
Man.
Go watch it.
Hey.
It's on TikTok. It blew up on TikTok too.
Yeah, that show was dope.
But so what people don't know is I was like, man, I want to put this short together. And I remember telling D-Rod, man, I'm going to, Kobe is everywhere. Like, I'm going to go take pictures. Yeah. And so initially I think I asked Nick or something. I was like, hey, man, drive me around. And he was like, man, I got something to do. And I looked at Jack. I'm like, Jack. And for those that don't know, Jack is my wife. I was like, Jack, come on. I need you to drive me around.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? Why? I said, I got to go take pictures and video. Of what? All this Kobe stuff,
Yeah.
And she took me, shout out Jack. And we probably almost died a couple times. I mean,
getting out on the highway.
I got out walking on the highway.
She called me when they were redoing the exit.
Your dad's crazy.
Yeah, she was like, we're in the middle of the highway and your dad's walking down it.
But man, that reel just went nuts for us. Pushing 60,000 views. So many people started following us on IG, especially, and TikTok because of that. So shout out Gear, man.
Shout out Gear. Shout out Kobe, man.
Shout out Kobe.
Shout out Kobe.
And then let's do TikTok real quick. What is the most popular reel on TikTok?
Man, I'm gonna have to go with R.I.P. Lisa G, man.
Yeah, I didn't count that one because that was more of a heartfelt tribute to her.
That was to her, yeah.
That was for her.
Excluding that one, man.
I'm gonna say the Bobby Witt or Mahomes one.
Pretty close.
I think the one on TikTok is probably the Chiefs. Oh man, it's the one. I think the one with Crispin Red says "Home of the Chiefs." Yeah. I will go with that one.
Close.
I could be wrong.
It's actually the first time that I put a reel together, and it was the Kansas City versus. It was like a teaser, and it was just us asking questions. It was like Bobby Witt Jr. or Isaiah Pacheco, and then you're like, Ollie Gates or that, and then I ask another question, then you ask, and there's nobody responding. Yeah. It's just reacting. You know what I mean?
Oh,
there's people just, man.
Yeah. How many has that got?
It's pushing 3,000.
Oh, okay.
So it's getting there. So, and that's the thing, man. And here's one thing that people don't understand. Like, okay, first of all, I didn't know shit about hashtags. I didn't even know those were important with social media. I just started uploading. I just started uploading them and posting them like that. And then I remember at one point, like, why are we only getting like 100 views on this? This is like,
so hashtags make it.
Especially on TikTok.
So you gotta watch. You got a hashtag. The other thing is that TikTok has these stupid, just like some of these other platforms, algorithms. So let's say like, and I've told you this, D.Rod, like the Juan Moya one, we put together some nice Juan Moya reels.
Yeah.
And TikTok won't push the video because the photo of Juan Moya that we used of not of Juan Moya, but of his art where the Aztec warriors holding the girl and she's kind of partially naked, TikTok calls that nudity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they basically send you a message that says it goes against our rules. We're not pushing your video. Yeah. And I'm like, what? And that's happened what? Half a dozen times.
Well, even with Will Harris, man, shout out, Classic Blends, man.
Cigar.
We was in there smoking on his episode, and they did the same thing. And we got cigars.
And so people don't know, like, that's the BS that you got to work around. And I hit the button to basically tell them you could look up TikTok cigars and you'll see people blowing stogies and making all kinds of video with it. Yeah. It's silly. I don't know how to get around it.
Yeah, man.
So the other thing I wanted to say, this is the last thing on followers and stuff. I didn't know this. This was all brand new. Uh-oh. But did you know that we could actually pay people to follow us?
What? Bots? Yeah.
Like, you know how many DMs I know we've gotten, I'm sure many other people have gotten, that's like, if you pay me $50, I'll give you 200 followers.
No way.
If you give me 100, I'll give you 1,000.
Man, I don't doubt that one bit.
Oh my God, dude, it's incredible. Yeah. And I didn't even know that was a thing. I'll be honest with you. I was like, what? Yeah. Like, people actually do this? Yeah. I'm sure they do.
Especially in the SoundCloud days.
Oh yeah.
We upload a song and it's like, oh man, we got so many people, and it's like, oh, they're bots. Never mind.
Yeah, for sure. But let's do the questions, man. What do you think?
Yeah, man. What's these questions we got?
Let's do the questions, Nick.
Okay. I'm going to just do them in order so I don't get confused.
Okay.
All right. Question number 1 from the listeners. How did Enterrupt KC start?
Ooh. Oh, man.
So, let's see.
2019.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to go back in time, right?
Yeah.
So
way back.
Is this when the world lost its mind?
Well, this is before that, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it was before that.
So let's back up for a second, okay? So I think people know by now, if you've read any article written about us, which we've had two, by the way. Salute to those folks.
Yeah.
D.Rod and I are uncle nephew, right? We're uncle nephew, right? Love each other, spend so much time together.
A lot of time
together, a lot of great memories. And we found ourselves basically eating and drinking at several places together.
Oh, man, all around.
And I remember at one point, this is prior to COVID, I'll say a year at least prior to COVID, I remember just being like, man, D.Rod, it would be cool if we could like vlog.
Yeah.
It would be cool if we could vlog. And I remember D.Rod coming and was like, man, we should like, do like a pull up in a car and we could talk. You remember all that, man?
Yeah.
We were like thinking
we had
through
visions,
it.
Man. We had all visions.
Kinds of visions. COVID happened, right? Changed the world. Here comes the rise of what I would call Kansas City, to be honest with you. I mean, so many social media influencers are in Kansas City now doing exactly what we talked about. I mean, shout them out. Like, you got KC Lifestyle Girl. You got small size Big Eats, or I forgot her name. Yeah. You got Epitome KC.
Epitome KC, my man.
You got
Epitome KC.
Move to KC, dude. I mean, these people are just doing it. Shout out, man. Hopefully we get you guys on the podcast one day.
Come on, let's sit down.
But
we talked about that.
We talked about that. I'm glad we didn't do it because I don't think we could have ever done it as well as they could have, or they are, I should say. But then, fast forward to 2023, and I just was like, dude,
man, I got the phone call.
Let's do a podcast, And I remember this like it was yesterday. Nick, you might remember.
11:30 p.m. Phone ringing.
Well,
I bought this mixer. Sorry, I bought the mixer, and I remember telling you, Nick, and your mom, like, hey, I'm gonna start a podcast. And like, what? Gonna start a podcast, not sure name, not sure what, not sure, just want to do it. So I bought that, and I remember texting it to D.Rod, right?
I think you sent me a picture.
Yeah.
And you said, I got this idea or something like that. And I think I either called you or you called me, right? And you're like, hey, man, what do you think? And I was like, let's fucking do it.
Yeah, you were like, I'm down. What do you need me to get?
I was like, shopping.
I was going to say, I remember being in the kitchen. He's like, hey, first he buttered me up. How's next sports? I'm like, good. I'm going to start a podcast. I was like, what? I was like, but you need all this? He's like, I already bought it. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
But so there was the beginning, man. D.Rod, buys a bunch of stuff. I buy a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And then, the name, I remember coming up with the name real fast, and for those that don't know, this is actually a question we've been asked several times.
Yeah.
Who came up with the name?
Yeah.
The name is cool. Who came up with that?
Yeah.
And so just real quick on that, we've answered that already, but just real quick on that. So if you don't know me, D.Rod knows this. I'm a huge play on words. I play on words all the time. I mean, I can go through the years. D.Rod, how many times? D. I mean, just. Oh my God, we've had words all. We played on for years. But it was a matter of like, man, what are we trying to accomplish, right? What are we trying to do with this podcast? And we both felt very strongly like we want to talk to people who everyday people don't talk to them, or don't know about them.
Yeah, man.
We wanted to do that. We have a lot of friends and family that are doing things, and nobody ever asks them what they're doing, how they're doing it, whatever.
Or their story.
Yeah,
their story. Joe Arcee's a great example of that. He's so busy covering everything and everybody. Yeah. Nobody sits him down and says, let's learn about you, right?
And what's crazy, even, to touch on that real quick, man, not to cut you off, but I've had people even tell me, like, man, I've known Joe for 20, 30 years, but I didn't know his involvement with UCM or what he did with this or that or the other,
Yes.
I mean, so, to touch on that.
Yeah,
right?
So to me, it was more like, okay, we want to enter Kansas City, the Kansas City that we know. D.Rod is born and raised Kansas City. I'm born and raised Kansas City. That means a lot. Kansas City means a lot of things to a lot of people, right? but what does it mean to us in our circle, our people, right? So we just hit the ground running, man. Interrupt is to interrupt your day. Or interrupt your day, disrupt your day, however you want to look at it, and bring you into Kansas City.
Yeah.
Enterrupt KC.
Yeah.
You know.
And the people, places, and things.
People,
man.
places, and things, you know. So that's what the name came from, man. So then that happened, and then, you know, then we kind of settled on, let's do a mobile podcast, you know.
Well, the logo, the logo.
The logo.
Like we're tagging around with the logo, looking at it. JL was sending me a bunch of different fonts and this, that, and the other.
And you know what's crazy, man? I actually have screenshots of the, like, other versions of the logo, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad we didn't do that one.
Or the designs.
I'm like, oh, I'm so glad.
Crazy.
And we've gotten so many compliments on the logo, the name, the setup, man. And I got to tell you, man, the setup, we've gotten so many compliments on, and this isn't the whole full setup we're doing today, but D.Rod, man, D.Rod has this eye for how things should look, you know, and to me, the sarape being here with the black, you know, I mean, initially I was just like, man, we just get the backdrop and black cloth and some microphones and we're good, you know, and D.Rod was like, nah, man, we got to add some more, you know, we got to add some more. So, you know, we did that, man, and shout out D.Rod, man, for that. But that's how Enterrupt KC came together.
That's how it started. That's how it started.
So just wanted to throw that name in there real quick, and how you know, because that's a big part of you know how Enterrupt KC the podcast came together. And let me also add that D.Rod and I are conversationalists. Like, if you ever have spent time around us, we just love to shoot the shit with people, man. Like, let's
anybody, man.
Let's literally, we're doing what we would do with anybody. Right now on a podcast,
anywhere.
Right? Yeah. Like, let's get a beer, let's get a drink, let's get a shot, let's talk, man. Let's shoot, let's talk. Stogie, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Good question. Thank you for asking that.
All right. Most memorable moment of any episode?
Most memorable moment of any or every episode?
Any episode.
Any episode. Man, there's so many. You know, I mean, there's so many for me. You know, I'll tell you what's kind of more memorable for me is there's been a couple that that we didn't know nothing about. I didn't know nothing about. You know, and I kind of went in there full blown blind, not knowing who to talk to, what to say, how to answer, how to do anything. But then when we're done with it, man, it just, I mean, wanted to embrace these people, talk to them. I mean, you know, it truly builds a relationship, you know, when you get to talk to somebody like that. So I think the memorable part for me, I think, is because we've talked and we've drew out some real personal conversations, man.
Yes.
You know, where people have shared many life changing or life events that they've had, you know, and they shared it with us. And to me, that means a lot, man, because
100%.
You know, when they share something when they say, I'm gonna share something with you guys that I ain't never told nobody before.
Yep.
Man, to me, that's opening up their soul, man.
Yeah, being vulnerable.
Being extra vulnerable. And not only to us, but for our audience, man, you know, for our followers, you know.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that's kind of what it is, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, man, to be honest. I mean, I can't pick one moment and be like, oh, this is the one that really, you know, is so memorable for me. I will say that there's people we've talked to that I'm kind of like, I can't believe we're sitting here talking to this person.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'll tell you flat out, Gear, Scribe,
Bob Kendrick,
you know,
Psych, man.
I mean, even Juan Moya, man, shout out Juan, you know, to me, because, you know, I grew up, D.Rod, seeing, and we said this on the episodes, seeing gear inscribed name on walls in Kansas City, you know, and their art, you know. Yeah. And it was always something for me that I was like, man, that is so cool, man. These dudes, they're legends to me, you know. Yeah. And so it's like, wow, man, I can't believe I'm sitting here talking to these people, you know. So shout out Gear, shout out Scribe, man, for that. Yeah. And there's others, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Brian B. Shining, man, you know, listening to him on the radio, man, like, dude, that dude is so freaking cool, man. Like, cool. I mean, people don't understand. We have conversations with people while we're setting up and while we're doing stuff. And then after, you know, like, and you know, we could sit there and talk for another hour or two.
And we have.
It's like, damn, man, these people are cool as hell. Because to your point, D-Rod, we go through this experience of talking to people and really getting to know them. Yeah. Sharing so much personal stuff sometimes. And it's like heartfelt, you know. It's like, man, y'all are good at. How many times have they said, y'all are good at this? You know. Yeah. What about you, Nick? You got a memorable one?
Yeah, I got a few. I'm not gonna go into depth except for one, but Drew Eanes.
Oh yeah, Drew.
Like if anyone needs some motivation and just run through a wall, last 20 minutes of his is great. Right. The Reyes brothers.
Oh yeah.
You know, they covered a little bit of mental health. Just
shout out Luke and Damien, man.
Shout out Luke and Damien.
But I think one that sticks to me is, besides Will Harris, Cigar One. Yeah. I love everyone's episode, but that was my favorite.
Yeah.
Because we got to smoke a cigar.
And that was right on your birthday, too.
Yeah.
Don't lie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Was Chato when he talked about the protest. Yeah. And I had coffee with Chato a few months ago. Yeah. And not so much him getting emotional about it, but the comment he made where they're protesting and it's people my age or younger and they have no knowledge of like the area they're in. They're making someone else's problems their problems. And just him talking how his own friends and family viewed him different. Yeah. And I think that episode, especially nowadays, is something everyone needs to listen to. You know, because when I met with Chato, I was like, he was like, man, I wish you were on the mic. Because I told him, I was like, dude, I could have gone back and forth with you that whole time, and not to get into it, but I was just like, I just don't understand why my generation makes other people's problems their problem, as if it's not going to affect the other person. Yeah. So that's probably my most memorable one. Yeah,
Chato's, man, he was, man, shout out Chato, being Lois, man. He got pretty emotional, and I did too, man. I mean, I was feeling some kind of way, you know, his poetry. Yeah. You know, his poetry, Brown Eyes Blue, man.
Or even talking about Hinado, man.
Oh, yeah, Hinado, man. Yeah. Talking about Hinado. So, I mean, yeah, man, I feel that.
Yeah. No, there's some good memories, though, for sure.
Yeah. All right,
what's next?
The most famous one. Tell me you're from KC without telling me you're from KC.
Ooh.
All right. I'm gonna give mine. I gave it already. To, I'm just going to say it again, okay? Hi, may I help you? That was mine, and I gave it to Will Harris, man.
Yeah.
I gave it to Will Harris, man. Yeah. So that was my go-to, man. Yeah. What's yours, JL?
Man, I have several, man, but here's where I'll go. I'm going to do a food joint. I'm going to do two, okay? One, because they're both no longer here. And one, COVID. I thought actually COVID probably took them both out, to be honest. And they're KC, like both. One side's on Missouri, one's on Kansas. Okay. So let's do Paul's Drive-In in Armadale.
Missed them.
Onion rings, untouchable. You couldn't get better onion rings.
Burger basket.
Milkshakes.
I mean, Paul's Driving in KCK, Armadale, man. We miss you.
So much.
Somebody come back. Bring it back. We need that back in our lives. The other one, D.Rod and Nick, we've eaten there several times together. Gojo's,
man. I knew you were going to say that. Yellow sauce,
man. The yellow sauce.
Yeah.
Man, just the memories of that place. Man. You know, these social media content people that make all these food things, like all that shit you do is cool and really nice. I wish you could have done one with Gojo's and a burger basket at Paul's, man, because it was real fire right there. Yeah, for sure. So if you born and raised in Kansas City, you know exactly what we're talking about.
That's one of the questions I started asking people too. Like what restaurant is closed now that you wish was still open. I brought that to life with some of the people that we've had.
And that's actually cool, man. Because here's just a little giveaway for people. One of the questions I want to start asking D.Rod is, you know what? I ain't even gonna say it. We're just gonna do it because I want to just get people's reaction, and I also don't want people to take that question. Yeah. So I'm gonna just keep it to my chest right now. But it's a good one. It's gonna get some good reactions
out there, man.
It's gonna get some reactions, man. So anyway, go ahead, Nick.
All right, next one.
Wait, Nick, you got to do it too.
Yeah. Well,
tell us you're from KC without telling us you're from.
I'm shocked no one said this one yet. I don't really know the name for it, but I'm gonna just say what I think it looks like to me. Is like the Hereford House cow statue by downtown.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In its original location?
Yeah.
Because it's moved.
It's moved twice.
Maybe
3 times. Maybe 3 times. I think 3 times.
Yeah, because growing up, that thing has always been there. Has never moved.
Yeah.
And my Grandpa Mac used to always tell me that was a real cow.
Yeah.
And it just sits there as a kid. Yeah. And I'm shocked no one's ever said that.
I remember as a kid, man, a vivid memory, man, I swear to God. I remember being on the highway. And with my mom and my dad, and I'm driving in there, and my dad's telling me, shoot that cow. And I'm pretending I got a gun, and I pop.
No way.
Man, so, hey, little
I would
story,
say
man,
that.
right there.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. How has starting the podcast changed your life?
Ooh, changed my life. Changed our lives. Well,
we're not millionaires. We're still here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's really changed my life.
Yeah, I mean, changed my life. Here's what I'll say. I think you guys know this about me. I'm somebody who just stays doing something. For years it was school, right? Like school or pool league or something, right? Like we always just stay busy doing something. So in that aspect, it's not really changed. It's just something else now I'm doing, right? I think the way it's changed my life is that having to prioritize this, fit it in among many other things, what I mean? Like that's one thing, man, D.Rod, I've mentioned this to you and we've talked about this with people, right, Nick and D.Rod. How many times has somebody approached you? Because for me, it's been no less than 5 or 6 times in the last year. Yeah. Man, I want to start a podcast. I want to start a podcast. Yeah. And the first thing I tell people is, however much time you think it's going to take, multiply it times 4. Because if you want to start a podcast and actually do it right, give it the energy it needs and the time it needs, you need to spend time doing it, particularly up front when you're learning everything, right? Because I think you said this earlier, I think a lot of people thought like, oh yeah, we have professionals and we're sending video to people and they're editing it and they're like, no, man, we're actually doing that shit ourselves, So that to me, that's how it's changed my life, is just making sure that I'm prioritizing it right. Yeah. So that's me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of around the same baseline with me, man. It's just putting time into it, depending on our guests, right? Like I like to do research on them, I like to do a little bit of backdrop, trying to follow up on some things that they're involved in. I love to show appreciation for accomplishments that they've done in their lifetime. So whatever it takes, Saturday mornings, man, I'm an early riser, man, and I get up and that's my jam, man. I get down and I start looking, I start doing, I start searching. Yeah. So I think the time thing for me, I get more focused in the zone, because to me, our guests deserve that.
Yeah.
And it ain't nothing for me to just, take a few hours to try and show them some love, man, that we do.
No, but man, I'm actually glad, D.Rod, you said that, because you said something that's really important that we actually all take seriously. First of all, we want this to be a positive experience for everybody, right? But what we really also care about is that the camera, the audio, that it is a professional result, right? We've had some hiccups. We're not perfect,
right?
But it is a professional result. And I think people are caught off guard when they see it. They're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't.
And we've heard that so many times.
I didn't expect all this, that you guys had all this equipment, and we carried in on these bags and stuff, right? So, man, that's an important aspect.
I think that's it for me too, man.
What about you, Nick? Change your life?
So, I would say for me, I think it's helped me get, like I said earlier, a lot closer with Uncle Daniel, seeing him a lot more, and doing something with you as a grown adult, because we're not on this earth forever. So getting to do something like this with my father and my uncle is very special to me.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you.
But I think you guys are being a little too humble, because as you guys are talking, I'm going through my head. And it's not changed our lives, but think of the lives you guys have changed. Chato reached out to us, and he sent us people making amends with him.
Yeah.
Those that separated from him because he's a cop, he's reached out to us.
Yeah.
And I'm just throw it out there. We probably helped him get the Buck O'Neill seat. You guys have made people feel safe on this podcast. So
those are their words. Right?
And the community has embraced you guys.
Yeah.
Now you guys can't go anywhere without someone recognizing you. You got restaurant owners being like, oh yeah, I've heard of you guys. I got people on the sports side that are like, oh yeah, I've heard of your guys' podcast. So I think even though it's asked how it's changed our lives, I think we've changed a lot of lives just having them on this.
Yeah, and that Nick, that's
perfect. Right on point.
That is on point. I ain't gonna say nothing. You know what? That's well said, man.
Yeah.
Well said. I didn't look at it from that aspect. But it is making me think. And D.Rod, I know we've talked about this, you and I, about how many people have told us, "Hey, man, you know how many people reached out to me because I talked to you guys and what I said and what I shared." And, I'm thinking about the foundations we've covered and how much we highlighted that, and they've gotten more gifts or donations or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Through these conversations that we're having. So, you know what, Nick, man, well said, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Is it true the Chiefs will not have a parade if they win the Super Bowl? Which I know has been talked about a lot through the media this week.
It has.
It has
Quentin
been,
Lucas, man. The mayor was talking about it.
Yeah. And I'll be dead honest, man. I didn't know about this. I stay pretty busy in the day. It's just like we all do, and I didn't really pay attention to this. But all of a sudden, I was sharing with you guys that, people started asking this question. And so, because I knew we were doing this episode, right, we just put it out there like, hey, is there any questions you guys have? Well, people listen to us, and they're like, hey, can you guys help us with this response, So, what I did, man, is, I reached out to our boy D.Rod, Manny Abarca. Shout out Manny, Jackson County representative there. And I just said, yo, man, what's up? Can you help us with this?
I got it.
Can you do this? And in all fairness, I also reached out to Chris just to see if he had anything as well. I hadn't heard back.
Yeah.
Shout out, Manny,
so shout out, man. What did we get from Manny?
So, loaded response, but to basically sum it down, they've been meeting, since Lisa, RIP, continue to meet, and especially are now. And it sounds like they're not necessarily saying no parade, but are weighing the options of a rally instead.
Yeah. Okay.
Whether that be at the stadium or just maybe Power and Light, I don't know.
Yeah.
But confidently and transparently, he's not saying no or yes.
Yeah.
But that they're just still talking about it. Because at the end of the day, he acknowledged, like, you can't stop one person from messing it all up for everyone.
Yeah, shout out Manny, man, because I know he's doing that work for gun control laws and stuff, and he mentions that, right? All the work that he's been partaking in, and Manny was, he's talked about this openly. He was one of the individuals down there, D.Rod, with his daughter when the shooting occurred, and had to duck for cover and everything like that. So I know that's a real big passion to him, man, and he's doing good work there. So Yeah, so that's it, man. That's the response we got about, you know, are they not gonna have anything? What's this gonna look like? And, you know, it sounds like there are some conversations, you know, at least according to Manny and Barker, that they probably will not have a parade. It'll be more of a rally, and it'll be more high level security.
Yep.
Making sure people, you know, maybe walk through some metal detectors, you know, things like that. And Manny said we could drop his name and let people know that that's something that he said. So thank you, Manny, for doing that.
Yep.
Appreciate
great
that.
question, though.
Yeah, great question. I mean, because look, we in the thick of it now, man. Chiefs getting ready to start three-peat, baby.
Never underdogs, baby. Never underdogs.
I'll tell you right now, Saturday is probably the most exciting game because everyone's healthy.
Yeah.
Everyone's rested.
We better win by 4 touchdowns.
I'm telling you, like,
more of that. Yeah. They're gonna come out beast, boy. Beast mode.
Let's go.
Right.
Hey, man, I wanted to back up a little bit, man. I know you got a couple questions, but I wanted to give another shout out, man. I think you asked a question about one of the episodes and something that meant something to us or something like that, right? Most memorable. Man, they all were great. They all were great, but. Man, I need to and I want to give a shout out to our boy Foster Huggins.
Yeah.
That episode, man, with the Underwater Fly Zone, Your Life is Worth Living.
Yeah.
Man, that one right there. Yeah, JL, man, stays with
Keep that sticker with me, man.
For those of our followers, man, listeners and watchers, man, that have not seen that, Foster Huggins, man, he's on suicide, I guess, with awareness, right? Yep. And man, I think that one, it really touched something with you and me, JL.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, and I'm sure everybody, you know, like I said, man, in our audience, man, near and far, man, suicide, man.
Yeah.
Suicide, man, unfortunate, man.
Well, and I would even say, D.Rod, mental health. How many times have we talked about mental health on our podcast episodes?
Yeah.
I mean, I can go as early as Drew Ings talking about it at length in his episode.
Yeah.
Several in between. I mean, even like shout out Brian B. Shine, shout out FK Menace. He talked about it, you know, of coming here in Kansas City and being by himself and, you know, kind of foreign territory and the toll it took on him, you know.
Right.
I mean, just so many people talked about mental health.
Yeah. And to like we said earlier, you know, I think that when we have these conversations about these different subjects and topics and what's going on in men's minds, hearts, and souls, right? As personal as it may be, when it's over and said and done, that's where that comfort, you know, comes in, where they appreciate it too, right? Yeah. You know, I mean, I just wanted to say that about Foster Huggins, man, because, you know, we lost our boy. You know, we lost our boy, Mark, man. Rest in paradise, man. Mark Thomas, man. And there's a lot. There's a lot of people that passed us, man. So, you know, Underwater Fly Zone, man, if y'all haven't seen that yet, man.
Yeah, great episode.
Yeah. And I'll say, just for people my age that are listening, or like, get help.
Yeah.
You know, like about a few weeks ago, I lost a former classmate through public school. You know, arrested, so I hope he's at peace now, but it's tough.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
it is tough,
please
man.
get help.
Yep, absolutely.
9988, man.
What else we got?
All right, last question. We kind of touched on these, but a different question is most memorable podcast experience outside of the podcast itself.
Man.
Oh, man.
Oh, I'm laughing because there's one in particular that
I know which one you're going to say.
Man, Matty Rose, Northeast Gear.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, we were all very anxious to talk to Gear, right? I mean, we were so, and I'm going to be honest, man, that anxiousness helped carry my big ass up those 2 flights of stairs.
4 flights, right?
4 flights, whatever that was.
We walked in. We're like, hey man, where's the elevator? He was like, nope. Oh, stairs. We gotta go all the way up.
Yeah, like what?
Me and Uncle Daniel had to gather ourselves to go back down.
Yeah, we gotta get more shit, man.
Oh my God, man.
Oh, wait, just thank God we didn't have to take no tables up there, man. Tables and chairs.
So is that both of your guys' experience?
No.
I mean, that's definitely one for me.
Is it?
I mean, there's more.
So I'm gonna have to say mine, a podcast experience, not doing a podcast. I would say, man, it was actually pretty. There's a few. This has happened a few times, and you touched on it a little bit. Being out in public and people recognizing you. Yep. So it's kind of weird, right? It's fucking kind of weird, man. When people, are looking at you and they're, and me being me, man. If anybody knows you, I'm like, well, this dude looking at me,
Yeah.
And but also. One time I was at the fiesta. I think you was at the different fiesta.
Yeah.
And man, the people coming up and talking and shaking my hand and hey man, you like it, love it.
Yeah.
And I'm rocking the shirt, and I'm there having a beer and I'm enjoying myself, but I'm representing, right? Mm-hmm. And just seeing the response of the community, of the people, of our people, man, of everybody there who follows, shares, and likes and subscribes and everything else, and coming up, man. I think for me, that is a great podcast experience without doing the podcast. Yeah. Because that's the appreciation that people have, man. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'll add one. There's two, and I actually shared one on an episode. One I haven't. One on the episode I shared. D.Rod, I told you about this. Pretty much when it happened.
Yeah.
It was the Hispanic Heritage Night at the Royals. Yeah. Going out there, and I remember just before we walked into the game. I was taking some video of the mariachis. I think I shared this story on Dink's episode. Yeah. And I remember just being there and hearing somebody go, "Enterrupt KC," and I was like, "What the hell?" Like I heard him,
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, man. I thought like, oh, I know this person, like they're a friend, they're a family member, they're somebody that knows me, kind of thing. I wasn't expecting to turn around and see somebody I'd never met in my life and didn't know who this was. But they recognized me, and I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. And he said, man, I love what you guys are doing. Man, keep it up. Watch you guys. Great. Go to the seats. It's actually the night. Shout out Chato. He got the Buck O'Neill Award. Yep. Chato came over, hollered at us for a while, and, we took some photos and stuff. Saw him get the award. That was amazing. So we're leaving now. And we're walking up, and we were sitting like down first base side, down toward the bottom, and walking up out of there, and get toward the top, and all of a sudden I hear it again. Enterrupt KC, what's up? Yeah. And I'm like, what? And it was a group of people this time, and I'm like, I look over, and it's a group of people, and they're like, what's up, JL, man, Enterrupt KC, and I'm like, yo, what's up? And I go over there, give some handshakes and everything.
Hell yeah.
And, that was pretty awesome, man, to be honest with you. The other story I want to share just real quick, and I remember I told you about this, D.Rod. With my wife, she wanted some menudo. And I went to Los Alamos one morning just by myself to go pick up some menudo to go. Yeah. And I parked across the street right there on Summit. I parked across the street from the restaurant. I get out and I'm walking across the street, and there's this older white guy and his wife getting into an SUV. So I'm walking. Dude, I'm in like pajamas pretty much. I hate to admit that. I was in a lazy day. Yeah. And the old dude turns around, he looks at me, and he's like, "Enterrupt KC?" And I'm like, look at him, and I'm like, hey. And I go, and he's like, hey, man, we watch your stuff. And I was like,
that's dope.
What?
Man.
I mean, this dude's an older white dude, don't know this dude, don't know. Went to shake his hand, his wife, and they're like, man, kind of what you said earlier. Man, that episode you guys did with Joe RC, man, I've known Joe for years, and I've never knew the stuff you guys talked about. Yeah, man. That was cool. Yeah. And that was like 4 months ago. So that was actually really cool, man. Those are 2 or 3 moments I remember.
I get recognized. but as JL, not me. That's, I mean.
What's up, JL?
What up, JL?
That, like when we did the Hispanic Convention Chamber.
Yeah.
I mean, people we didn't do, obviously, as a guest, is just, man, JL. And I turn around and they're like, oh, no, you're not JL. And it's like, yeah, no, I'm not. I'm Nick.
They're looking for the glasses.
Yeah.
If you had glasses on, it'd be different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say, honestly, like, this is going to sound bad, is some of the free stuff that we get because we've had people on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like when I go to Farmhouse, Vincent always comes out.
Oh, right.
Oh, shout out,
Free.
Shout out,
man.
Vince.
Shout
but
out.
Gives
man.
us something on the side. Last time we went to, Harris's spot, you know, I was the first one there, and I was buying cigars, and he comes over and he's like, oh, just here. And just gave me my favorite flavored ones, you know. But it's things like that,
Yeah, man.
you know, they show support back.
Yeah.
Because we gave them a spotlight.
Yeah.
You know, so things like that to them
Absolutely.
Shout out
You know.
Farmhouse.
And
man.
you know what, man? I actually want to. I'm glad you brought that up, Nick, because it's not. I mean, here's the thing. We don't do this to get free stuff,
Yeah.
right? Let's start there. But how many times, D.Rod, have we patroned Café Corazon, Manny's Restaurant, Will Harris Classic Blends, Vince Paredes Farmhouse KC? I mean, I can go on and on.
Right.
How many times have we, in this past year,
Step the game up.
gone
man.
back to their businesses and just showed that
Yeah.
love and support?
Yeah, man.
Share their episode, share what they got going on. You know, I mean, shout out to Carlos brothers. You know, Isaac and Jorge. You know, they got stuff coming on. Share their content. You know
Yeah.
what I mean, that's what it's about, man. Is sharing. You know, sharing the love. You know what I'm saying? So,
And I'll say side one is simply going to Kauffman Stadium.
oh, that was cool.
I may be biased because I love baseball, but just that being there, walking it, being in a different part of the stadium.
Yeah, sweet.
I mean,
That was pretty cool.
beautiful.
Shout out
stadium.
Pedro for that, man.
Yeah, beautiful stadium.
Yeah,
Cool.
man.
So, any other questions?
No, but I got one for you guys. We
Okay.
used to ask this, and not that we stopped, but you know, we became more structured. I'll go one by one. So,
Okay.
D.Rod,
Yo.
what advice would you give the younger generation or a younger version of you?
We did used to ask
Holy
that.
shit. What advice would I give a younger version of me? Oh, man. I think I...
Don't do it.
Nah. Man, the best advice I'd give a younger generation is, you know, don't give up. Don't give up, man. Whatever dreams or aspirations or thoughts you have, you know, full throttle, man, straight ahead.
Yeah.
Man. Whatever seems to push you back, you know, 2 steps, man, reach for them 5 more to keep going.
Yeah.
You know, nothing. If anything was easy, everybody be doing it.
Yep.
You know, it takes a good, strong mind. You know, you got to have that mental, you know, capability that believe in yourself with whatever it is you guys are doing, man. Just keep grinding, man. Life is a grind.
Yeah.
You know, for it to show that you build and you grow, you got to grow and build mentally first.
Right.
You know, and then everything else. Once you got that vision, don't look back.
Yeah.
Keep on going.
Yeah.
And even surpass that.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's probably
great, man.
I think that's probably the best one.
Shit,
man.
that's good advice for anybody, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think I might have shared that one time too. I mean, you know, just move forward, man. Don't look back.
Yeah.
Just keep going, man.
Yeah.
You, JL?
Yeah, I mean, man,
For the young
I'll just do a
generation.
younger generation one. Man, I hate to sound like, you know, at some point in life, everybody starts sounding like their parents, you know, and
Yeah.
this is straight from my dad. God rest his soul. 15 years coming here in February. Life is hard, right? Life is hard. It's harder if you're stupid. about it. That's my dad, man. But my version of that would be everything takes hard work. Yeah, everything. Yeah. You know, even this podcast, you know, it's work. Sometimes it's hard work. And I don't mean physically, I mean mentally. You got to just do it, you know. Yeah. You know, I know particularly nowadays, man, and maybe I even thought this to a degree early on, D.Rod, was, you know, man, we'll just start putting out videos, man. It'll just grow, you know, and we ain't got to really try very hard. And then you start realizing, well, no, actually, you got to actually put some effort into this. It's a process, you know? Man. So, you know, for anybody out there that wants to start a podcast or be a social media content influencer or whatever you want to do, engineer, lawyer, doctor, hairstylist, you know, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It takes hard work.
And whatever knocks you down.
And the thing is
keep it going.
You don't appreciate things when it doesn't. You know, you appreciate it when it actually takes hard work. Yeah. And I got to give a shout out, man, to the number of people who've been on our podcast and talked about the hard work they put in. Mm-hmm. I mean, as recently as Marco Romero. You know, that kid, dude, hard-working kid. He put a video of himself, I don't know if y'all saw it, on his socials, of him going to Mexico, Michoacan, and his family's partying, he's running the track. Yeah. I'm like, man, can you remember he talked about that? Yeah, he's like, man, my family be over there eating and partying and carrying on. And, you know, tacos I'm over here training. And I'm like, man, and this dude's 19 years old. Yeah. I mean, he has dreams. Focus, you know? So that's what I'm saying. If you have a dream, work hard at it. Give it the work it deserves, you know? So that's what I would say.
Good one, man.
Well, that was it.
All right.
For the questions.
Man. Cool. So just real quick, man, as we wrap up, let's talk about the year coming up, D.Rod. You know, thank you again to Nick. We know you're stepping off. Always welcome to come back and help, though. You know, I know people are wondering, like, man, what guests y'all got coming? You know, how can I be on this podcast? You know, this and that. What I was saying, we tell everybody this. Shoot us an email.
Yeah. What's that email, J.O.? What's that email?
Enterrupt KC, one word, @gmail.com. enterruptkc @gmail.com. Who are you? What you got going on? What you about? What do you want to talk about? You know, as much as we would love to just bring on anybody and everybody, you know, we are intentional about telling stories, you know, and pulling stories out of people. You know, we've done everything so far, D.Rod. We've done community leaders. We've done business owners. We've done athletes, artists.
Artists,
you know,
man.
You know, and we have so many more pretty big names who've reached out, I would say, and we're going to get them all lined up and squared away, and we're going to tell their story, man, the way it should be told. So that's what I would say. Enterruptkc @gmail.com. Shoot us a DM if you don't know. Go ahead, D.Rod. You want to show us something?
I want to show this card that we got, man. Yeah. And I don't know so it's from Coach John Brown, man. Right. So you brought up Marco Romero, man. And this is it's pretty dope, right? So Turner Boxing Academy, right? And look at that. Look at that.
That is so
let me do it
sick.
Again, man. How it goes. So we have to zoom in. Bam. And it says Happy New Year, you know.
Sir.
Signed the legendary coach, boxing coach John Brown and Marco Romero right there, man. But that card, bro, that's a phenomenal.
That's
man.
A dope card.
That's dope,
I ain't never seen a card like that.
I haven't either, man. I mean, that's gonna go right there where
you got to keep that.
My tequila bottles are, man. That we're gonna start hitting hard here.
Yeah, man. When my dad opened it, I thought it was the. Sock 'em, rock 'em.
Right.
I was like, what are you doing with that? He was like, no, this is a card. I was like,
that's dope, man.
Yeah, pretty
dope.
Sick, man. Pretty sick.
Hey, man, thank you, Coach John Brown, man. Thank you, Marco, man, for this card, man. I really love it. I really, really love it, being a boxing fan that I am.
Before we step off here, man, one thing I do want to talk about just real quick here at the end, the backdrop.
The backdrop, man.
The backdrop.
Man,
I am so proud of that thing, man.
I got asked if we could turn that into a blanket.
Oh, yes, we can.
Hey, man.
And for only one, no.
Yeah, for a low price.
Yeah. We can't do that.
Hey, that'd be kind of dope. I was like, my daughter said that, man. She's like, that'd be pretty cool if you guys could turn that into a blanket with everybody's signature on it.
Yeah, it'd be a cool shirt. It'd be a cool bunch of stuff.
Hey, right here.
But I guess where I was going is that the backdrop, man, it has become literally, a signature move for the podcast, man. So yeah, man, just want to throw that out there.
There's been many guests, man, touch on that real quick, man. Many guests that after we're done, they'll be like, all right, I'm ready to sign. I want to sign.
I'm ready.
Or like we haven't brought it in yet. They're like, where's the banner?
Yeah.
Where's the banner? And there's actually 2 guests that we don't have on there.
Yeah.
So Drew and Angie, we need to get them on there because we actually started that with Carlos. And Carlos, I saw Carlos not that long ago, and he reminded me of that. He goes, he tells the person he's sitting with, they have a podcast. I was the first person to sign the banner. I was like, damn, he was actually. He remembered that. Yeah. So, man, with that, man, we look forward to just engaging more people, having more conversations. This is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and we cannot wait to let you guys see what we got going on, man. I can't wait, D.Rod, man.
Yeah, I can't wait either, man. We got lined up, like we said, man, is, the weather and holidays and everything's been shit, but we're back kind of kicking it back in gear, man. We're lining things up for everybody, man. Our guests coming up, man. And
yes, sir.
Can't wait to sit down and talk for you guys, too, to see who we got coming up.
So thank you, Nick.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Peace be with you, man. Wish you the very best, brother. And love you, man. We have to bring you back at some point. You talk about everything.
Hopefully you get full going. You're gonna be a guest on here, man. We're gonna talk some depth.
Yeah, hopefully 10 months from now, I'm like, man, we got this, we got this.
Oh, yeah,
I can't wait, man. So with that, man, Enterrupt KC, JL,
D.Rod right here, man.
Like, follow, share, subscribe, man. We're talking about clicks of a button, everybody.
Just share it or something. Comment,
do that, man. Comment. Have some fun with us, man.
Here we go,
this for y'all. We out of here.
2025.
Peace.
Bye.